Hey folks, I welcome you all to Scalar Academy's YouTube channel. So, a very important step in beating COVID-19 is to get vaccinated. And the government of India has launched this website called as CoWIN, where you can go ahead and register yourself for a vaccination slot. Now, in this particular session, we'll be using Python, and with the help of Python, we'll be scraping data from this particular website. So, we'll scrape data pertaining to vaccination details, the name of the center, the address of the center, and so on. So if you're excited on how to use Python to scrape data from the CoWIN website, let's get started. And before we actually start off with the session, I'd request you all to like this video and also subscribe to our channel. So folks, let's get to the code. So folks, let's get started on the code. So we'll have to start off by importing all of the required libraries. So I will import the requests library. Now if we'd have to scrape something from any website, well, we'd have to send a request to that website, isn't it? So here we have this CoWIN website, and from this website, I'd want to scrape the data which will tell me during which particular date how many vaccinations are available, and I can get that by either searching through the pin or searching through the district. So let's say if I given the pin code of, let's say 110001, and if I hit on search, so these are all of the slots available for these dates. Now what I'd want to do is I'd want to send a request to this cowin.gov.in website and get all of this information. So I'd want information with respect to, let's say, the center name, the center address, how many vaccinations are available, and so on. Now, since I know the address of it, what I want to do is I'd have to send this a request, and to send a request, we would need to import the library. So here I shall write down import, and the name of the library would be requests. Now, after this, whatever data I extract from this website, I'd have to convert that into JSON form. So I would also need a library called as JSON. Let me just go ahead and import that. Here I shall write down import JSON. And since I'd want to know how many vaccination slots are available on which particular date, I would also be dealing with some date data. So let me also import date time library. So here I will write from date time import. I would need date time, and apart from this, I would also need something called as time delta. So I've imported all of the required libraries. Now what I'll do is I will go ahead and get today's date. So for that purpose, let me just go ahead and create a variable called as today. And inside this, I will use the same date time library. And here I shall write down date time dot today. Now let me print down today over here. And as you see, this is what I get. Now this just seems a bit ambiguous, doesn't it? So that is why I will use print statement, and inside the print statement again I will print out today. And this is what we get. So today's date is 2nd of June 2021, and this is the particular time right now. So now it's 4:48 p.m. and this is what I have. So all of these individual dates have been, I get this inside a tuple, and all of them are separated. So 2021 is the year, 6 is the month, 2 is the date, and also this is the hour, this is the minutes, this is the seconds. And this is how I get all of this information. Now what I'd want to do is I'd want to create certain variables which I'll be using in this program. So first, since from this website, I would want to extract all of this information through the help of pin code. So what I'm doing is I'm extracting all of this information if I type in a particular pin code. So let me just go ahead and create a new variable called as pin. And inside this, let me just give in the same pin code. So I'll actually give in 3 pin codes over here because I do want to see what are the vaccination slots or how many vaccination slots are available near these pin codes. So here I shall have 110001, 110002, and after this I'll also have 110003. So I've created this new list called as pin, and I've given 3 pin codes inside this. Now after this, I will go ahead and create another variable where I'd want to see information for the next 7 days. So here I'm just creating a variable called as numday, and I am passing in this value of 7 because I'd want all of this information about vaccinations for the next 7 days, or basically the 7 days starting from today. So I just create a variable for this. Now what I'd want to do is I'd want to generate these next 7 days. So how do I do that? Well, let me start off by creating a list and name that list as all dates, and for now I'll just keep it blank. So I'll write down all dates is equal to, I'll just give in parentheses, and I'm keeping this blank for now. Now after this, let me go ahead and start a for loop. So I'll write for I in, and I will have a range. So for I in range of num day, which is basically number of days, what I'd want to do is I'd want to append all of this information to my list. So I have this method called as append. So I'll write down all dates dot append, and inside this I will just have today plus time delta of I. Now what is happening over here is, so in today I have this particular date, which is 2nd June 2021, and time delta, I'm just creating a delta. So when I have time delta of I, so initially I value is 0, so today plus time delta 0, then it will be today plus time delta 1, today plus time delta 2, and this is how I'm adding new 24 hours to my current day. Now let me just go ahead and execute this, and let me print out all dates for you guys and show you how it looks like. So as you see, I have generated dates starting from today going on till the next 7 days. So I have dates starting from 2nd June going on till 8th of June. And now I have all of my 8 dates ready, or all of my 7 dates ready. Let me just go ahead and send a request to my website. Also, before I do that, what I'd want to do is I'd want to convert this into a string format. So I want this in very simple terms. So again, I'll create another list and call that list as final dates. So this will be an empty list as of now. Final dates is equal to, I'll just give in parentheses. Going ahead, I'll have another for loop. Here I shall write down for I in, and this for loop will go through this all dates object. And now for I in all dates, what I'd want to do is, again, I'd want to use this new list, which is final dates. I will use the append method, final dates dot append, and I will be using this method called as strftime, where I'm basically converting my time objects into string. So I.strf.time. So this I variable, this basically iterates through all of these different dates. And here final dates dot append I.strftime, and I want to convert this in the form of date, month, year. Here I shall write down %d, %m, and %y. %d, %m, %y, which would basically mean in the format of date, month, and year. Let me execute this and also print out final dates for you guys. And when I print out final dates, this is how I see the result. So 020621 is basically 2nd June year 21, 030621 is 3rd June 21, and this is how we progress till 8th of June 2021. Now we've also got the final dates in the form of strings. This is the time when we can go ahead and send a request to this CoWIN website. So let me start a while loop. Now I would want this while loop because I would want to be sending these requests continuously. So while true, while this is happening, what I'd want to do is I will have 2 for loops over here. So the first for loop is, so I'd want to search through all of the pin codes and all of the dates. So my first for loop will search through all of the pin codes. So here I shall write down for p in pin, and I will have an inner loop, an inner for loop, and here I shall write down for d in final dates. And after this I shall create a string, and I shall store that string in this URL. Now to actually create this string, I would need to go to this particular website. So here, this website which we see, this is the main CoWIN website, and we have an API for this website as well. And you can get that API through over here. So as you see, we've got the URL for the server over here. And what I'd want is I'd want the availability of vaccination. So get vaccination sessions by district for 7 days. And here I have get vaccination sessions by PIN for 7 days. And since I want with respect to PIN, this is what I'd have to get. So let me just click on this. And if I just scroll this through, this is where you will see the URL. Now, from this URL, let me just copy this entire URL till over here. Let me just copy this URL till over here, and I'm leaving out the pin code and date for now because those would be manually be fed from my side through the Python program. Let me copy this. Let me paste it over here, and pin code. Let me just put in these curly braces for now, and I would also need to add date. So I'll have date is equal to, again I'll have curly braces. Now after this I'll use the string formatter, and inside p code I will pass in this variable p, and inside date I will pass in this variable d. So this is how I have my URL ready. Let me just put in these braces properly. Let me put this at the end of this. So seems like this over here is proper. So URL, I've put in a brace over here, I've put in a quote over here. So seems like we've done this properly. Now after this, what I'd want to do is I'd want to send a request to the CoWIN website. So to send a request, since I've imported this, let me use the same thing. So here I shall write down request.get, and inside this I will just pass in the URL which I've just created. And I'll get a result, and I'll store that result in a new object, and I'll call that object as result itself. Now let me show this out to you guys. So I'll have print result dot text, and let's just see what is the result that we get. Now when I print this out, this is the information which we get over here. Center, center ID, name, then we have which state is this. So this is the entire thing which we have got. Now let me go to this API page. So when I put in this API or the link of this API, I sort of get this sort of information. And as you see, all of this information is basically present as a JSON object. So what I have extracted from this website right now, this is HTML jargon which is present over here. Now I'd want to convert that into JSON. So this is what I have, and I'd have to convert this into JSON. Let me just go ahead and do that as well. So I have already imported the JSON library. Here I shall go ahead and write down result.json, and I will store this in a new object, and I shall call this as JSON result. Now after this, what I'd want to do is since I have this, what I'll do is let me just put in a comment over here and print out this JSON object as well. Let me stop this. Let me save this session for now, and let me use print JSON result, and when I execute this I get the same result. So this is the result which you actually see over here, and this is the final JSON object. Now from this JSON object, what I'd want to do is, since this seems like total jargon and I wouldn't be able to properly understand the data, I'd want to extract this properly in text format where I'll not have all of these different tags, and this will come in the form of a proper text format. So let me write down the code for that. So now that I have this, and since I also have the result properly, so let me just write down a if statement. So here if JSON result centers, which would basically mean if I have properly converted this into JSON object and if I'm getting the result or not, then if this is the case, what I'd want to do is I'd want to start a for loop. So here I shall write for I in, and here it will be JSON result centers. So I will go through all of the centers, and when I'm going through all of the centers, I would also need to go through all of the sessions. Again, let me just show this to you guys. So here I have centers. Centers is the key. These are all of the values. Similarly, I have this key called as sessions, and I have all of these values over here. And now inside this for loop, I'll have for I. So let me actually keep this. Let me change this. Let me write this as for center in JSON result centers. And here I'll have for session in center. And let me what I'll do is for session in center, inside this I'll just put in session over here. So now that I have both of my for loops ready, what I'd want to do is I'd want to print out all of the information. So I'll start off with a print statement, and first I'd want to print out the center name, or probably I'd want to print out the pin code first, and then I'll go ahead and print out today's date. So here I'll just write down pin code, and pin code will be present in P. Similarly, I'd also want to print out date, and date shall be present in D. Now that I have printed these two out, what I'd want to print is the center name. Let me write down center name over here. And center name I'll be getting from this JSON object. So here I shall write down center, and here you see this variable. This is what I'd have to pass in inside this. After this, I'd also want the center address. So here let me write the simple text center address. I'll put in a comma over here. Let me give in the JSON object. From this object, what I'd want to extract is the address. So let me add in the address as well. Now after this, I would want the number of vaccines available. So here I shall write number of vaccines, and this number of vaccines I'll be getting from the session object. So here you see from the sessions key, I have this value called as available capacity. And this is what I'd have to pass in over here. So I'll write down session. Inside this, I will write available capacity. And then going ahead, I'll have my next print statement. And inside this, let me see what else do I need over here. I'll also add the vaccine type. So let me add vaccine type here, and vaccine type also I'll be getting from the session object. Here I'll just write down vaccine, and let me stop this once, and then let me execute this again. Let me save this. Let me stop this, and now if let me remove this print statement, let me put in a hash over here, and now I shall get the proper result. So session, I have an error over here for, let me just see that properly. This has to be sessions. Let me change it to sessions. Let me also change it to sessions over here. And when I run this, I again have an error. So here this is sessions. So here for session in this has to be a simple one. Let me change this to session. Let me change this to session again. And now when I run this, I get the final result. Let me also put in a new line over here, print new line, so that I see a proper segregation between all of the results. Again, let me stop this once. Let me save this. Let me scroll this down and let me run this so that you guys can see this result properly. So from this CoWIN website, I have been able to properly extract all of the information. So as you see, this is the pin code. This is the date, which is 2nd of June 21. I've got the center name, center address, number of vaccines, vaccine type. So today, let's say if I go to this particular center, which is LHMC CVC2, this is the address, number of vaccines are 0. So you see that at a lot of centers, the number of vaccines are 0. Now what I'd want to do is I'd want only those centers where there is at least one vaccine available. So beneath this, I will add another if condition, and in if, let me put in a tab over here. Let me write in this if condition, and in the if condition, I'll just write down if session, and here it has to be available capacity. So if the available capacity is equal to 0, only then I would need all of this information. So let me put in these proper tabs over here. So if you're working with Python, it is extremely important that you give in the proper spacing, only then it shall work. So let me stop this, let me save this, and let me scroll up. Now let me run this. And if you see over here the number of vaccines, now you shall see that you will not have a 0 value. You are getting only those results of centers where you have at least one vaccine available. So folks, we have successfully used Python to extract data from this CoWIN website, where we'll have detailed information of how many vaccines are available across all of these centers. Thank you.